This is Sumbul Sang with episode 7 of the Start Anew show.
Does your work energize you? Does it make your impact on the world? Welcome to Start Anew, the show that looks beyond success into freedom, fulfillment, and your passion-driven career. Join your host, Sumbul Sang, for inspiring stories and bite-sized training to help you start anew with clarity. And now, here is Sumbul.
Hey there, starters. Thank you for tuning in to Motivation Monday. If you are looking to start a new dream, a new career, you gotta begin with self-awareness. And to help you do that, I've created a cheat sheet of 7 free self-assessment tools for career change. And you can download it for free at letsstartanew.com. Now, a lot of the stories we share on this show are about people ditching their soul-sucking jobs to start a passion-driven business. But not today. Tony, my friend and guest today, had a different perspective. He wanted a job doing what he loved, yet having the security of a paycheck. Starters, if this is your vision, you gotta take notes and model Tony's success. Today, Tony shares with us the intentional steps he took to discover his calling in life, the strategic actions he took to prepare himself for his ideal job, and how he landed it. Now, let's get to know Tony. Tony Woodall is an award-winning speaker and author of 9 Steps to Successful Goal Achievement. He's also the founder and host of Goal Getting Podcast, where he shares his goal achievement success system to help others get the goals they set. Tony, hello and welcome to the show.
Hello, Sumbul. Thank you so much for having me today.
So excited to get to know you and share your amazing story with our listeners. I know you're doing some exciting stuff in your life right now, but before we dive into that, let's take a few steps back and give us a glimpse of a time in your life when your work is not inspiring and fulfilling you.
Well, that's fairly recent. I was actually from Atlanta, Georgia, and I moved to California due to a mortgage industry crash that we had here, and I wasn't making any money. So I got to work at this great bank in California, and was doing something that I had loved doing at one time, and had spent the last 3 years working with this group, and the job itself wasn't satisfied. I just wasn't feeling fulfilled, wasn't feeling satisfied, and basically I wasn't happy in that job. The company was fantastic, a great company. I loved where I worked. I loved the people that I knew there and some of the other coworkers that I had. We were really a good company. I just wasn't being fulfilled in the job. I just wasn't feeling like I was making an impact at the company or in my own life doing what I was doing. It just wasn't what I was hoping it would be when I took the job in California. And, so I was just not having a good time at that point in my life, and was actually probably one of the lowest points in my life. And I actually came to California because I had lost, when I was in the mortgage industry, basically lost everything and had to revert back to a career that I had before I was in the mortgage sales industry, and just didn't enjoy it anymore and didn't like what I was doing. Like I said, the company was great, but I wasn't having a good time doing the work that I was doing. Just didn't feel like I wanted to be doing it anymore. So I was very unhappy at that point.
You're feeling like something's got to change. You're not quite happy. Was there a moment when this realization really hit home for you?
It was. It didn't, at that point, I didn't have an aha moment. I think that came in just a little while, which I'll talk about. But, I just couldn't seem to enjoy going to work every morning. It was getting to be a chore to get up and go to work in the morning. And that's not me. That's not the way I typically, focus on, my work. I'm usually very into what I do, and I love what I do, and I like going to work. At this point, I was in one of those funks where I hated going to work in the morning, and that's not me. And it just really, I realized I'm in a point where I try to teach people, when you're in that point, in your life, you need to change something. And, so I've always believed that. And I was at that point. So I said, well, I've got to figure out what I want to do. And I started going back to school to take some marketing classes because I had, in a previous role before I came to the bank, I was in loan sales and marketed myself. I owned a weekly franchise called Coffee News, where we published good news, and I did ad sales, and I loved the marketing part of that. Unfortunately, that business crashed during the mortgage crisis where I was at as well. The economy went bad, but those were, something that I did. So I said, well, let me try studying marketing again. Maybe I can find a job in marketing or figure something out, because that was something I had done that I enjoyed. So I took some marketing classes, but yeah, I got to that point where I hated going to work in the morning. And if you don't like what you're doing and you get to that point, something needs to change.
So you realize that something's got to change and you take some action towards it. You like marketing, so you take some classes, you're learning. Then what happens then?
Well, what I did was, one of the great things about the internet is you start seeing different people. And, I'd always wanted to write a book. And so I saw Jeff Goins on Facebook, and I started following Jeff Goins a little bit and reading some of his stuff. And he had just published a book on The Art of Work was the title of the book. And it's about finding your calling and finding your passion. What do you like to do? What do you want to do to find your calling? And as I started reading his book, and one of the things that he talked about was you need to really think about what you were doing when you were the happiest in your life. What were the things that you did in your career or in jobs that you've had that really, or even in life in general, that made you happy, that you were the happiest at? And think about those different things. And I've had a lot of careers in my life. I've been around a long time and I've done a lot of different things. And the reason for that is I'm usually not happy. And if I don't like what I'm doing, I typically go find something that I do like to do. But I was sitting there and going, here I am, I'm making great money, but I'm not happy. So I've got to find, what did I do in my careers that I've had, the many that I've had, that really made me the happiest when I was working, when I, really just felt fulfilled, felt satisfied, felt, energized about doing what I did, where it wasn't work anymore. It was, hey, this is fun. I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I'm making money, but that's cool. And so I started thinking, and I realized there were, basically four areas that I had a passion for. One was training and teaching. I used to teach crime prevention classes. I used to teach martial arts seminars. I used to teach software for a software company. So I really loved training and teaching. And that actually, when I thought about it, I go back to when I was in high school and getting ready for college, and I'm going, at that time, I wanted to become a teacher. And I said, well, when I started researching, I found out teachers don't make a whole lot of money. So I said, well, I'm not going to do that, but I really wanted to be a teacher at that time. And when I was getting ready to graduate and go to college, but I threw off that and went a different path. So I really enjoyed teaching. I loved that. I love speaking in public. I love, getting up in front of a crowd and sharing knowledge and sharing things. I used to do a lot of speaking, doing presentations in the mortgage business and things like that. And I love motivating people. I really love helping people set goals and achieve goals. And that was one of the creations when I created the foundations of my goal-getting program that I have now, the Goal Achievement Success System, was because I love to help people and motivate people. And the other part that I really loved was the networking. When I was in the loan business and had my Coffee News franchise, I would go out into the local communities, help the communities build their businesses, work with the local business people, go to the chambers of commerce, some of the networking. I was very active in Business Networking, Business Network International, BNI, and just love that, being able to go meet people, build relationships, help grow the local communities, that sort of thing. So that's what I started thinking. And that's when I had my aha moment after I read Jeff's book, and I've got to thinking, well, what do I love doing? What things just really make me feel excited? And those were the things where I was the happiest, building things and helping people and, just making an impact, I think, is the point, where your significance that you have in your life. And that was what I needed to do. So I got to thinking, well, how can I do that? I have to find a career that do all of these things, that I can do? Because I've done parts of them and I've loved each one of them in different careers. What can I do to get to that point again where I'm happy with things that I do? When I go to work, my kids, I had one career that I'd worked for and my kids used to call me a workaholic. And I said, well, I'm not really working. I'm having fun. I do it till midnight or whatever. It's just because I like what I'm doing. But, so when can I get to those points again where all of those are part of me and I can do that every day and have fun doing it? So I started trying to figure that out. What can I do to do that? So the first thing, to give you some steps, I just started looking for things that I could do to start that. And one of the things I did is I joined Toastmasters because I wanted to improve my public speaking skills. And we had started a club at the company that I was at and got active in that. And eventually now I'm an award-winning Toastmaster. I've won several awards for speaking contests and things. And I really do enjoy talking to people and helping people. So I use that experience and that education I'm getting there to, build that. And I've got reintroduced to podcasting, and I started my podcast, Goal Getting Podcast, so that I could have that vehicle to talk and to share and to speak and to train and to motivate, and then to hopefully also start networking with people. So I did that, and then I started building these skills that I needed, and these different areas that I wanted to go. I actually had a book that I had started the outline for several years ago, back in 2006, and I decided I wanted to go out and finish that book now that I've got to do that, because I wanted to help spread that. It was on the 9 steps to successful goal achievement. I had already started the outline, so I went ahead and said, I got to finish this book so I can get it published. And I did that and got that done. So what I wanted was to start building that career going forward. I wasn't quite sure yet what that career would be, but I started looking at the different features of the things that I needed to be able to do to make myself, where I enjoyed what I wanted to do.
There's a great lesson for our listeners there, that if you're at a point in your career when you're not enjoying yourself, instead of just quitting it, you reflect on what you really love doing, and by reflecting on your past, which is what you talked about, the moments when you were the happiest. And then you find that. So you found 4 things you said that you knew that you enjoyed the most. Mm-hmm. And then you took action to develop your skills in all of those areas. And it's interesting that you still don't know exactly what that new path is going to be. But you do what a man can do. Prepare yourself. Get ready for the next opportunity.
Exactly.
So, you've joined Toastmasters and you're developing your public speaking skills, you're start writing your book. And then what happens next for you, Tony?
Well, again, I continued to, join the podcasters community. I joined an online community, and I decided, well, I need to also build an offline community. We had a group here in the San Francisco Bay Area of podcasters that were part of this one Podcasters Paradise community that I was on. And I started a group locally so that we could all meet locally instead of online and get together. So I also started developing a social media following, things like that. But then in doing all this, I was researching what type of career, if I was going to have a job, what type of career could I do that? And a lot of people jump to it and starting a whole new business. And that's something down the line, I probably have aspirations to do. But I really just wanted to find what kind of career could I have right now to be able to do what I do and still make money. And I started looking at the different careers. I'm in the tech hub, here in San Francisco. You've got all the tech companies. So I started looking at some of the openings that they had. And, I had done some work as like a customer support in my previous careers. And one of the things that I noticed was really big was a customer success manager or a community manager, helping build advocacy, helping build, customer loyalty and things like that. And I'm very big on customer service. And I started looking and realizing that maybe a career as a community manager or a customer success manager role would be close to what I wanted in a career. I'd be able to do training. I'd be able to do blogging. I'd be able to do social media. I'd be able to do, networking and motivating people and, things like that. I could still, do my podcasting and other things. So I could find that community manager or customer success manager role, it would be something that I could do. Now, when I started looking at some of these careers, they didn't really pay the kind of money I was already making. I mean, I was already making a 6-figure income, so I was enjoying this benefit of having good income, but I wasn't happy still. So I had to find, well, it doesn't really matter. I've got to be happy. I wasn't against making a pay cut because that is something that is more important to me in my time in life, is to find something that I love to do. So I started looking at community manager roles, and I knew my company probably couldn't afford to pay me what I wanted to do. And being a community manager, like I said, they don't pay well to start with in most right now for the companies that I was looking at least not the salary that I was making at the time. So that I figured, well, I'll start studying and then working towards that. Maybe I can get an intermediate role or second level role or something as a community manager instead of a starting role in there. So I was planning on waiting 2 to 3 years, and it just really, you put those vibes out into the universe, and you start positive thinking, you start visualizing, the universe starts bringing those things to you. You start putting that. That's one of the things that I teach in our goal achievement success system is, that law of attraction. If you start putting that out there, you can get those successful things coming to you. The more you think about them, and the more positive you think about it. And our company just happened. One of the guys that I was friends with, he was our current community manager in our company. We had started an internal social media platform, and we had an internal community manager, and he was doing great. And I loved being on the platform and helping with that. And, he had actually gotten promoted. He had joined Toastmasters, and he'd gone through some of the leadership training, and he actually got promoted to the director of this position. And that left an opening. And so I said, well, I'm not qualified for that right now. So I referred several of my friends that I had gone to school with in the marketing classes to this particular role. And our company is great. We have a plan where if you refer somebody, you can get a bonus for that person, when they get hired. And so one day, probably a month after that opening opened up, I was having lunch with this friend of mine who is now the hiring manager, and we were walking back to the office, and I said, well, how's your search going? Are any of my friends in the running? Because I would love to get the bonus. And it was like a $10,000 bonus, so I would be happy. And one of them got it. So I go, any of my friends doing? So, well, we've had like 24 applicants, and so far nobody really fits what we're looking for with the culture that we have here at the bank, and with what we're looking for. Just don't seem to have anybody. And I jokingly said to him, well, maybe I should apply. And he literally stopped in the middle of the road, turned to me and goes, you should. And I go, I wouldn't qualify. So we had to get out of the road because we were about to get hit by a bus or something. But he said, well, it doesn't hurt. You've got some of the skills. You've been doing some of the community management in your own local, your departmental community that you've been doing, and you're big on social media now, and you're a public speaker. You have a lot of the skills. Why don't you at least go through the interview process? I said, oh, okay, whatever, So he said, well, fill out a resume and get it to me, and, we'll look at it. And so I modified my resume a little bit from my technical background to more of what I thought would be a good community manager things, talking about some of the things that I'd done recently, and submitted it and went through the interview process. I mean, I interviewed probably through 10 people through the whole thing. And my last interview was with his boss. And as soon as I left that and went back to work, he called me probably within an hour or so and said, she said, hire you. And I go, oh my gosh. And I said, you're kidding. And I said, but, the problem is the starting pay for that position was way below what I was currently making. And I said, I don't know, I can't really, here in San Francisco especially, I can't take that kind of a pay cut. And he said, let me see what I can do. And so a couple of days later, he comes back and says, we're going to do a lateral transfer. You get to make what you're currently making and do what you need to do. And when can you start?
Awesome.
So, here I am. I'm going, holy crap. I wasn't thinking that I would even be qualified for this role. But here's the opportunity to make exactly what I'm making now with a great company, with great people that I knew and loved working with, in general. And then, make the same money doing exactly what I wanted to do. And so I took the role, and I've been doing it ever since, and since September, and I'm just having a blast. I'm doing exactly what I set out to do with those 4 points of training, teaching, speaking in public, motivating people, creating, joy in people and helping them achieve their goals, whether it be business goals for the departments or, personal goals for people who want to grow. And then networking. I'm meeting all the business, focusing on the business people and, just meeting all the new people in the bank and, being able to do that. Plus I'm going to new seminars and learning new things, meeting new people in different industries. So doing a lot of essentially this 4 items that I wanted to, that made me happy. That's what I do every day, and I get paid for it. So I can't complain at all these days. So I'm very happy in what I'm doing. I love the company I'm with. It's one of the best companies in the world to work for, I think. And it is, like I said, the role I have is perfect.
Tony, there are so many lessons to learn from your story, but the one that I'd like to touch on is the importance of reflecting on what is it that we enjoy and what is it that we love, rather than just complaining about what we're not enjoying. And then developing our skills in areas where we do want to work in.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked so well for you. I'm so happy for you, Tony.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for today. If you liked what you heard, please help other people find the Start a New podcast on iTunes by rating and reviewing it. And don't forget to join me next Saturday when I talk about discovering our strengths and weaknesses. See you then.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Start a New Show. We invite you to be more than a passive listener. Be a starter. Join our community and snag exclusive freebies from Symbol and her guests at letstartanew.com. Create your vision of freedom and fulfillment right here on the Start a New Show.